सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Ashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, entitled Creation, Chapter 8, the prayers of Queen Kunti, Parikshit saved. We are reading two verses today, 12 and 13. 12 I will read myself, 13 we will chant together. Tarhi evatha muni shrestha pandava pancha sayakan atmano abhimukhan diktan alakshyastrani upatadu. O foremost among the great thinkers, Munis, Sonaka, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, this is a very small purport. The Brahmanas are finer than the nuclear weapons. The Brahmastras are finer than the nuclear weapons. Aswathama discharged the Brahmastra simply to kill the Pandavas, namely the 5 brothers, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthir and their only grandson, who was lying within the womb of Uttara. Therefore, the Brahmastra, more effective and finer than the atomic weapons, was not as blind as the atomic bombs. When the atomic bombs are discharged, they do not discriminate between the target and others. Mainly, the atomic bombs do harm to the innocent because there is no control. The Brahmastra is not like that. It marks out the target and proceeds accordingly without harming the innocent. We will chant this verse together. Vyasanam dikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Sudarsanena swastrena
Sudarshanena swastrena
Swanam raksham yadhat vibhu
Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Sudarsanena swastrena
Sudarshanena swastrena
Swanam raksham yadhat vibhu
Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Sudarsanena swastrena
Sudarshanena swastrena
Swanam raksham yadhat vibhu
Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Darshanena swastrena
Swadarsanena swastrena
Swanam raksham vidhat vibhu
Swanam raksham vidhat vibhu Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Sudarshanena swastrena
Sudarsanena swastrena
Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Swanam raksham yadhat vibhu
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham Ananya vishayatmanam Sudarshanena swastrena Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Vyasanam vikshya tattesham
Ananya vishayatmanam
Ananya vishayatmanam
Sudarsanena swasrena
Sudarshanena swastrena
Swanam raksham yadad vibhu
Swanam Raksham Yadhat Vibhu.
Synonyms: Vyasanam,
Vyasanam,
great danger.
great danger.
Diksha,
Diksha,
having observed.
having observed.
Tat,
Tat,
that.
that.
Tesham,
Tesham,
there.
there.
Ananya,
Ananya,
no other.
no other.
Vishaya,
Vishaya
means. Atmana,
Atmana,
thus inclined.
thus inclined.
Sudarsanena,
Sudarshanena,
by the wheel of Sri Krishna.
by the wheel of Sri Krishna.
Swaastrena,
Swastrena,
by the weapon.
by the weapon.
Swana,
Swanam,
of his own devotees.
of his own devotees.
Raksha,
Raksham,
protection.
protection.
Vyadhat,
Yadhat,
did it.
did it.
Vibhu,
Vibhu,
the Almighty.
the Almighty.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Translation: The Almighty Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling His unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up His Sudarshana disc to protect them. Translation with repetition: The Almighty Personality of Godhead,
The Almighty Personality of Godhead,
Sri Krishna,
Sri Krishna,
having observed that a great danger was befalling
having observed that a great danger was befalling
His unalloyed
his
devotees,
unalloyed devotees,
who were fully surrendered souls,
who were fully surrendered souls,
at once took up His Sudarshana disc
at once took up his Sudarshana disc
to protect them.
to protect them.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
The Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Aswathama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. This Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Aswathama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of Pandu's family. Therefore, in one sense, it was more dangerous than the atomic bombs, because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Knowing all this, Lord Sri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotees. Here the word Ananya Vishayatmana is significant. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Aswathama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Although the battle of Kurukshetra was almost finished, still according to his vow, he should not have taken up his own weapon. But the emergency was more important than the vow. He is better known as the Bhakta Vatsala, or the lover of his devotee, and thus he preferred to continue as Bhakta Vatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Let's understand the verse first. The verse says, Vyasanam Viksha Tattesham Ananya Vishayatmana Sudarsanena swastrena swanam raksham gadhat vibhu. The word vyasanam means danger, calamities. Vyasanam viksha tattesham. Viksha is to see, having seen or having observed. Having seen by whom? By the Lord. Where is the Lord mentioned in this verse? The last word, which says vibhu. Vyasanam viksha tattesham. Having seen that there is a big calamity. And what is that calamity? That calamity is the Brahmastra which is released by Aswathama. Vyasanam viksha tattesham. Ananya Vishayatmana, and seeing that there is no other alternative. In our engineering days, we used to use one abbreviation called TINA. There is no other alternative. In life, sometimes you are put into a situation where you don't have two choices, just one. So maybe sometimes if you are not prepared, you can only hope that you will pass, but really there is no alternative. Vyasanam viksha tattesham ananya vishayatmana. So there is no other alternative. Seeing that this Brahmastra is released and there is nothing else that can be done, immediately the Lord Sudarsanena swastrena, swa-astrena, Sudarsanena. So he used his own weapon Sudarshana to protect, to counteract this Brahmastra. Swanam raksham gadhat vibhu. Swanam is his own devotees. Raksham, to protect him. To protect his own devotees who are 100% dependent on the Lord, who are fully unalloyed devotees. The Lord took up this swastrena, his own weapon. That is the verse. The Almighty Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, Vibhu, having observed that Viksha, a great danger was befalling Vyasanam, his unalloyed devotees, Swanam, who were fully surrendered. His unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls is one, just Swana, at once took up his Sudarshan disc to protect them. Sudarsanena swastrena. This is the verse. So if we carefully read the translation, very carefully, because these are not some easy readings which we can grasp everything just by one reading. So if you read it one more time, the Almighty Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. Broadly, this translation can be divided into three categories, in three parts. So the first thing that Prabhupada is saying, or the verse Bhagavatam is saying, that the Almighty Personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, that is Vibhu, having observed Viksha, that a great danger was befalling. Actually, nobody predicts in life that there is going to be danger. But the dangers come, the great danger, Pesanam, that a great danger was befalling, it is coming. What do we do when there is a danger? We run hither and thither, we skelter and delter, we take help of whatever the known people around us. We use our own mind and intelligence. What is the best thing to do when there is a danger in our lives? Of course, the way danger is seen by Bhagavatam says, Padam Padam Yad Vipadat. In this material world, when we have accepted material bodies, every step there is danger. Padam Padam Yad Vipadat. Vipada is danger. Whereas the way we look at danger, that varies. Of course, one classic example of this is where Kunti Maharani, where she prays that you give me more danger. Vipada Tatra, Vipada Santu, Tasasva, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, Bhavata Yad Darshanam Syat, Apunar Bhava Darshana. Very interesting verse, very interesting way of looking at Vipada. Vipada Santu, Tasasva, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru. Let there be more calamities, let there be more danger. Why somebody will ask like that? Vipada Santu Tasasva Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavata Darshanam Yatsya. Because that kind of calamities ensures that we have your darshan. We will ask you and you will come for our protection. And that darshan, Apunar Bhava Darshana, having darshan of the Lord, counteracts all this Apunar Bhava to again take birth in this material world. So let there be danger. If there is more danger, at least I will pray to you, I will have your darshan, I will remember you, and the Lord, you will manifest. And when you come, your darshan is so powerful, so auspicious, because that darshan counteracts all this taking birth again in this material. Apunar bhava darshanam, no more taking birth. The darshan, the vision of seeing again a birth, is counteracted by that. That is Kunti Maharani. But here another devotee, Uttara, she is praying, and what is she praying? That a great danger is befalling. So this is the first part. None of us are exempt from this danger. None of us are free from this danger, and the danger comes. But what else is mentioned in this verse? Then the second thing which the verse is telling, his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls. So the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, is going to act, seeing that there is a danger. For whom? For his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls. Then the third thing is, somebody may question, okay, the Lord is going to act. So he has seen that somebody is a surrendered soul, he will make a plan. Like usually we have a plan. If there is some danger, something comes, we strategize. How long the strategy is going to take? At once. At once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. So there is a danger. There is a danger which is seen by Uttara. She is asking for help. And the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Vibhu, immediately took up his Sudarshana disc to protect, because he wants to protect his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls. This is the verse, very powerful verse. Actually, these verses of Bhagavatam reveal a lot of truths, a lot of things inside them. That's why it's a very serious discussion. It is not meant to, it's not some stories, we have nothing else to do, let's go and attend one class, maja aa jayega, entertainment will come, we will get something, some story we will hear. These are all real truths. These are facts which are deeply assimilated and contemplated by the sages, and they have put it. If you see in the pages of Bhagavatam, time and again it talks about the people of this Kali Yuga who are going to be born, that's all of us, how difficult it is for us to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth, how easy it is to get distracted, and how much of challenges are there to understand what the Supreme Absolute Truth is, how much of misleading information, misdirecting things are there, very precarious. The beginning itself, what is his name? Sonak Rishi, he says, Prayana alpayusa sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda samanda matayoho manda bhagya upadrata. Very compassionately they are seeing what will happen to people in Kali Yuga. Prayana alpayusa, short lifespan. Prayana alpayusa sabhya kalavasmin yuge jana manda, lazy, sumanda matayoho, dull-headed, manda bhagya, unfortunate, upadrata, always disturbed in mind, can't sit, can't listen, can't pay attention. Very, very precarious situation. So I wish you all a happy Diwali. Is it really? Today is Diwali? Come on. This is not a mistake. The reason this picture is there to wake you up sometimes. Okay, one of the things which we do in Diwali is, this bursting of crackers, especially this rocket. I don't know how many of you have done this. Acha? Oh, yeah, this also have done. Great. Okay, how many times it has been misdirected? Never done? Guess Mataji. How many times it goes, you wanted it to go up, but it has gone somewhere else? It has happened, right? Multiple times it happens. Right? Sometimes it goes in somebody's house. Sometimes deliberately somebody throws it also in some directions. So, simple rocket, when we are trying to, release, many times it misses the target, it goes anywhere, somewhere else. The modern scientists, when they are now talking, they are basking on the glories of the successful launch of Chandrayaan. Right? We are so proud of Chandrayaan. Or, the advancement that science has made in terms of discovery of nuclear weapons. Or, the latest, so to say, the crown, the feather that, we have made so much progress in artificial intelligence, the promise that it holds, there will be so much comfortable life, are always, there is a darker side of it which also we don't see. One of the things which, with respect to this launching of satellites, especially the lunar voyage, is always marked with a lot of failures. I don't know how many of you know this statistics, but it actually goes beyond 50%, about 60%. And generally, any satellites which is launched, the average failure rate is 40%. So giving due respect to the scientists, the conservative failure rate is close to 50%. And the maximum failure happens at the time of launch. When there is a launch of satellite, that is where it fails, misfires, it doesn't take off, so many such challenges which happens. But here is a mention from the purport, very powerful purport. And the first part of the purport, Prabhupada is writing, the Brahmastra, the supreme weapon released by Aswathama, was something similar to the nuclear weapon, but with more radiation and heat. Imagine the power, it is more intense, more radiation and heat. The Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. This is unknown to modern scientists. If you see any satellite launch, there will be a control room, very sophisticated with so many computers, and some big, huge, gigantic machines which is propelled by some fuel and that is supposed to go, and then in a particular orbit it is supposed to rotate. Very complex, cannot be done by one single person. Here, the impact or the effect that is generated is far more intense. It is producing more radiation and heat, but the way it is generated is very subtle. The Brahmastra is the product of a more subtle science, being the product of a finer sound, a mantra recorded in the Vedas. Another advantage of this weapon is that it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, because it can be directed only to the target and nothing else. Since this never misses the target, it is not blind like the nuclear weapon, it only hits the target. Aswathama released the weapon just to finish all the male members of the Pandus family. Therefore, in one sense, was more dangerous than the atomic bombs, because it could penetrate even the most protected place and would never miss the target. Never. 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy, more intense and very subtle. Doesn't require a huge complex mechanism like a sophisticated control room, modern scientists, big equipments, nothing. Just one mantra. This was unknown. This is unknown to the modern science. And that is why one aspect in this purport that you can see is there is an underlined tone which says how dangerous this weapon is. Far more dangerous. And it is 100% going to hit the target. And it is going to hit only the target. It will only kill the embryo, not Uttara. So what Uttara can do, and that is what this verse is talking about. But just focusing on the first part of this purport. If we see, of course, we always ask these questions when somebody comes to Krishna consciousness newly, first time. What is the difference between human beings and animals? Those of you who are not new, you can answer. Consciousness. Animals don't have consciousness. Intelligence. Elevated consciousness. What is that? Animals have elevated consciousness. What is the four things which are common and one thing which is not common, which we usually say? Ahara nindra bhai maituna samanyam etat pasubhinarana dharmena hina teshamadhika vishesha dharmena hina pasubi saman. Dharma hi etat teshamadhika vishesha dharmena hina pasubi saman. We talk about these things, that there are four things which is common between human beings and animals. Ahara nindra bhai maituna, eating, sleeping, mating and defending. That usually we say, and there is one thing which separates us from the animals, that is dharma. Dharma, or is the inquiry about the religious principles. That separates human beings, because animals can't do this. But keeping aside the philosophical part, if you just generally look at animals and human beings, there is one thing which is definitely different, which is there in human beings, which animals don't have. There is always an inquiry to see beyond our life. There is always an inquisitiveness. There is always an eagerness to know what is beyond this. One of the simple things, forget about it, whether you are a scientist or a philosopher or a thinker, is even common man. Look at this starry nights to find out what is there. How many of you have done? How many of you had a telescope or something in your house? Okay, you had. How many of you have seen the stars and then wonder what is there up there in the sky? Many of us. Right? We have this tendency to know beyond our life. There is always an inquiry to find out the purpose and meaning of our life. Anywhere we walk in, there is this intrinsic sense inside us to find out what's going on. Let's make some meaning out of it. I have walked into this temple hall for the first time. There are some deities, there are some people sitting. I can't possibly come in the center and start dancing and just be oblivious to what's going on. Nobody will do that, unless somebody is a mad person. People will come and see what's going on, how people are sitting. If male people are at that side and the female are at this side, they will choose appropriately where to sit. They will see what is going on. There is a reason. We are trying to make sense out of what is going on. There is a meaning that we are trying to make in our mind. There is a purpose. We want to do something. We have come here for a purpose. I have come here to have darshan. I have come here probably not to hear, but whatever it is, I have come here with a purpose, and that purpose I want to fulfill. So this aspect of human beings to inquire, to make sense, to find out what is beyond is very intrinsic. That is why the scientists are trying to find so many, they are doing discoveries, they are trying to make so much of research to find out what is this universe, what is this creation all about. They are making a lot of research. And their idea is, if somehow or other, this complex creation which is all around, which is there, if we can put it in a simple equation. For example, when Newton had this, how many laws Newton had? How many of you are engineers here? Science background. Okay. How many laws Newton had? 3 or 30? 30 is not a good number here. Okay. Newton's had 3 laws. 3 laws of mechanics, isn't it? First law, second law? No, don't worry, I'm not. First law, Newton had 3 laws of mechanics, but that laws of mechanics were challenged by Einstein when he came up with E is equal to mc square. Those were challenged by quantum mechanics when there was discovery by Planck, Heisenberg's uncertainty, then that was also challenged. But the whole idea is the scientists always think of how this complex creation can be put in a simple equation. One simple equation which explains everything. That is what is called the theory of everything. How this one equation, it can explain why this is happening, how this is happening. And that one equation, if we know, that's it. We'll figure it out. There is a scientist who says, I wish we have this power so that we can put the complex creation which is all around in a simple equation which we can put it in a t-shirt and everybody can. It should be something which can be understood even by a layman. It shouldn't be so complex in a scientific language like whatever is written on this side that we will be able to understand. No, it should be so simple that even a layman who doesn't have a science background should be able to understand. This is what the scientists expect. But is the reality, even if they want it to be so simple, is it so simple? No, it is extremely complex. In fact, I was studying a recent scientific discovery or a scientific paper where they are saying there are more unknowns in this universe than known. If you search more about this dark energy and dark matter, this is something which the scientists are not able to explain. They are saying there is 95% phenomenon in this material world which is beyond their comprehension. Only 5% is known to them. And they put it in 2 different categories. One is dark energy and dark matter. I don't want to get into the details, but they are acknowledging that it is beyond their comprehension. Yet, they don't accept that there is someone who is in control of this complex universe or this complex creation. There is a strong false ego which doesn't allow them to accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. One physicist from MIT, he has put this very nice quote. He says, what life makes so hard to study is anything that is alive is far from equilibrium. life far from equilibrium. If you search, you will find a lot of research, lot of hits in Google where what the scientists want is like there are there are some entities which are non-living, like stones, rocks. When they study that, they can find out that there is a pattern. There is some way that there is some kind of equation, or there is some kind of analysis they can do, and they can predict that this is how the stones behave. But when it comes to a live entity, when a person is alive, it is far more complex. It doesn't follow any kind of equilibrium. For example, simple example, when the sunshine falls in a tree, the tree absorbs the sunshine and produces sugar, which is very complex, very difficult to comprehend how simply by taking sunshine, a tree is able to produce something like sugar. So that is why the life organizes itself into amazingly complex things. And this is something which is beyond the comprehension of the scientists. Yet they don't surrender. Yet they don't acknowledge the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of the things why they don't accept, why they don't acknowledge the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. I was thinking to myself, often when we speak about other religion, we say that other religion like in Christianity, the Lord said, "Let there be creation," and the creation happened. Whereas if you see our Vedic philosophy, it goes very minutely describing about how the creation came about. But if you read that, the details which are given about the complexities and how the creation came about, it is mostly in the second and third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very, very fascinating, very intriguing. But if I give you some details, like the first thing that came was Mahatattva. Then there was Pradhana. Then there are three modes of material nature. And from three modes of material nature came different elements. Very, very sophisticated, very organized way this information has been disseminated. But still the question comes, like in one place it is mentioned, from ether came air. So from ether came air, and how did air come from ether? By the touch of the Supreme Lord. So then again, when you say that, okay, you are talking about in details, there are some names, there are some complex things that you are explaining, but ultimately there is a touch of the Lord. So what problem happens in scientists' mind is that if there is some phenomenon which you are trying to describe, even though that is complex, I should be able to reproduce. I should be able to replicate. If there is a complex creation which has been created by the Lord, and if I have understood it properly, I should be able to produce. But the Bhagavatam's point is, we cannot produce it by our tiny brain. The reason being, we are not the same as the Supreme Lord. If you read in Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter, there is a mention of how many categories of people Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter talks about? Three classes of people. Three categories of living entities. One is Kshara, one is Akshara, and one is Purushottama. Kshara is fallible, that's all of us who are here in this material world, who have forgotten our relationship with the Supreme Lord, and eternally we are struggling accepting this body. Akshara is infallible, who are there in the Vaikuntha Loka, understanding their constitutional position, and engaged in rendering devotional service to the Lord. But apart from Kshara and Akshara, there is Purushottama, there is the Supreme Lord. They are not in the same level. So the biggest challenge which human beings have is, or at least the modern scientists, the modern thinkers is not able to accept that the Supreme Lord is different than us. He has unlimited capabilities, His infinite power. That is very difficult to comprehend. That is where the challenge in surrender lies. That's where the struggle in surrender lies. Very interestingly, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, which comes in the 12th canto. Very powerful verse. It talks about something very interesting about the characteristics of people who are going to be born, or who are all of us who are here in this Kali Yuga. The verse goes like this: Kalo narajan jagatam param gurum trilokanatha natapad pankajam prayena martya bhagavantam achyutam yakshanti pasanda vibhinna chetasa. Very beautiful verse. So this is actually towards the end. This is called Bhumi Gita. Mother Earth is praying something to the Lord, and before she prays, she is actually laughing at people like the kings. who have come and they've gone, but they all have wanted to acquire a big position, like a big portion of the land, Bhumi. So Bhumi Devi is telling, Kalo na Rajan Jagata Param Guru. Rajan, there are so many kings who will come, who Kalo na Rajan Jagata Param Guru. They will not accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. Even though Trilokanatha Natapada Pankajam, Trilokanatha, like who are the controllers, the big controllers like demigods, Brahma, Indra, Shiva, Natapada Pankajam, they are going down before the Supreme Lord, whereas these people who are the so-called successful people or the rich people or the scientists, Kalona Rajan Jagatam Paramgurum, they cannot actually surrender to the Supreme Lord. Prayana Martya Bhagavantam Achyuntam Yakshanti. They will never do any kind of sacrifices. They have no understanding of what a sacrifice is. Prayana Martya Bhagavantam Achyuntam Yakshanti Pasanda Vibhinna Chetasa. Because they are atheistic, they are not able to understand that there is a Supreme Lord who is in control, who is our biggest well-wisher, who is most compassionate. Their mind is, his intelligence is Pasanda Vibhinna Chetasa. It's all in different directions. They are thinking there is no control, nothing, and they will struggle in this material world. O king, in the age of Kali, people's intelligence will be diverted by atheism, and they will almost never offer sacrifice to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme spiritual master of the universe. Although the great personalities who control the three worlds all bow down to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the petty and miserable human beings of this age will not do so. Look at the last line. The petty and miserable human beings of this age will not do so. Even though the supreme controllers like Brahma, Shiva, Indra, they are all bowing down. But the petty and miserable human, why they are petty? Why they are miserable? They are going through miseries. But petty because of their false ego, inflated false ego, where they think they are in supreme control, they don't need anything. They will not be able to do so. This is the irony of this Kali Yuga. People, they are all, intelligence is diverted by all kinds of atheism. They will not be able to do this. So, there's a very beautiful purport. Actually, Prabhupada's purports are so wonderful, so brilliant. He talks about how, somebody when he hears for the first time, he will say, "Hey, scientists are doing so much of research, what is your problem with them?" We have no problem. They are making great progress, no doubt about it. Our external life is becoming so much of comfortable. But the inner science is unknown to them and they don't want to make any effort to understand that inner science. And they have their own cocoon, they have their own world where they think that the world is like this and this is how I am perceiving and this is what I am concluding. But the fallacy in that, very beautifully, Prabhupada brings it in this purport. If you see this wonderful purport by Prabhupada, everyone thinks in terms of individual capacity that this universe, which is manifested before us, is all in all. And so the scientist in the human society of the 20th century calculates the beginning and end of the universe in his own way. But what can the scientist know? Even Brahma himself was once bewildered, thinking himself the only one Brahma favored by the Lord. But later on, by the grace of the Lord, he came to know that there are innumerable more powerful Brahmas, as well in far bigger universes beyond this universe. And all of these universes combined together form Ekapada Vibhuti. You see how complex. One scientist is trying to understand a simple one universe. That also we don't have complete understanding. That's why they're saying only 5% is known, 95% is unknown. Prabhupada is saying what scientists can know. Even Brahma got confused, thinking that he is the only controller or the creator of this universe, forgetting that there are many universes and there are many other Brahmas who are controlling that. And all these universes put together are Ekapada Vibhuti, or 1/4 of the manifestation of the Lord's creative energy. The other 3/4 of his energy are displayed in the spiritual world. And so what can the scientist with a tiny brain know of the absolute personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna? The Lord says therefore, Mohitam na vijanati ma mebhya paramapya. This verse of Bhagavad Gita, Tribhir Gunamayir Bhavir Evi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam na vijanati ma mebhya paramapya. This three modes of material nature is completely bewildering. Somehow or other it bewilders a person and it makes him feel that what he knows, what he does is all right. Everything that he is doing is correct. Very intelligent. He is the most intelligent person in this world and he is in control of everything. This is what because the material nature is so bewildering. And the next verse Krishna says, Daivihi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mahame Vaye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarandite. one word in that verse, and every word in that verse is very important, but one word is Daivihi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. You see, the word used by Krishna is Mama. This is my external energy. Had it been Daivi Yesha Gunamayi Maya Duratyaya, you can say, okay, there is an external energy of the Lord which is trying to bewilder us, which is trying to confuse us. Let's not fall for it. But Krishna says it's a Mama Maya. That means if somebody wants to become a devotee, Lord deliberately puts these challenges to see whether he is genuine or not. You have come forward, you've come with this good faith that I should surrender to the Lord. Sarva Dharman Pariteja, I have heard, now I am doing. But Krishna wants to engage his external energy to test whether this person is really genuine or he is coming just like that. It's Mama Maya, and it is Duratyaya. It's extremely difficult to overcome. Then the Lord says, therefore, Mohitam Nami Jananti Mamebhya Paramamya, bewildered by such modes of material nature, they cannot understand that beyond this manifestation is a supreme person who is the absolute controller of everything. Brahma, Narada, and Lord Shiva know about the Lord to considerable extent, and therefore one should follow the instructions of these great personalities instead of being satisfied with their tiny brain and its playful discoveries, such as the spacecraft and similar products of science. Very powerful purport. So that is the thing. If we even theoretically understand we have to surrender, the next thing that comes is how do we do it? And that is what Prabhupada is writing in the second part of the purport. Very beautiful purport. Knowing all this, Lord Sri Krishna at once took up his personal weapon to protect his devotees, who did not know anyone other than Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has clearly promised that his devotees are never to be vanquished. Kaunteya pratijanihi Nama bhakta pranashyati. Kaunteya pratijanihi Nama bhakta pranashyati. So he is giving this declaration to the whole world. Declare to the world, Kaunteya pratijanihi Nama bhakta pranashyati. My devotees will never perish. And that's what he is doing. And how Prabhupada is explaining, and he behaves according to the quality or degree of devotional service rendered by the Lord. This is another truth. As we surrender to the Lord reciprocates. Ye yatha maam prapadyante dams tatheva bhajamyam. People often say this, they put this allegation on the Lord. Why the Lord cannot come on his own? No, because the Lord respects our free will. If somebody feels that I don't need any Lord, I don't care who the Lord is. I am happy in my life, I am in control of my own things, I want to enjoy. The Lord allows that. The merciful Lord doesn't retaliate, saying that how rebellious this soul is. Let me, curtail his tendency of enjoyment. No. Yathechasi tatha kuru. In that verse, when Krishna says Yathechasi tatha kuru, before that he says, you contemplate on this. What is that word he uses? Krishna? 18.63. Iti te jnanam akhyātam guhyataram maya vivishraitat aseshena. Vivishraitat is to deliberate. Aseshena, fully, infinitely you deliberate on this. And then yathechasi tatha kuru. You don't want to follow this, you don't want to do this, you want to still follow the path of scientists, you want to follow your own path, go ahead, no problem. Vivishraitat aseshena. First think, contemplate. And still, if you feel that is the right path, yathechasi tatha kuru, then go ahead and do. Get the slabs of material nature, accept more bodies, get into the cycle of birth and death. This is what it is. It is not scary, it is not pessimistic, it is not someone who is trying. These are all realities of life. And Krishna still respects. That is why somebody who is still atheist, who doesn't want to surrender, Krishna allows him to lead his path. And he behaves according to the quality or degree of the devotional service rendered by the devotee. So the moment a devotee turns towards Krishna, little bit turning towards Krishna, immediately Krishna wants to bring him back. He wants to pull him out. Here the word Ananya Vishayatmanam is significant. Prabhupada, whenever he highlights any word from the verse, we have to see that very, very carefully. Here the word Ananya Vishayatmanam is significant. Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord. Even though in the previous verse, which I read quickly, they removed their weapons, but they are fully surrendered. They don't have faith in their own strength or in their own weapons. They have more faith in in the protection of the Lord. That is why Arjuna selected weaponless Krishna over his Narayani Sena. The Pandavas were 100% dependent on the protection of the Lord, although they were all great warriors themselves. But the Lord neglects even the greatest warriors and also vanquishes them in no time. When the Lord saw that there was no time for the Pandavas to counteract the Brahmastra of Aswathama, he took up his weapon even at the risk of breaking his own vow. Imagine, somebody can accuse, the Lord had taken his vow that he would not touch the weapon. Why did he do that? Better, I should keep my word. But in the last sentence of this purport, Prabhupada writes that he preferred to continue as a Bhakta Vatsala than to be a worldly moralist who never breaks his solemn vow. He preferred to continue as a Bhakta Vatsala. For his devotees, he can break his own promise. Doesn't matter. Let people accuse him for anything. He didn't want to be a solemn moralist. Rather, he wanted to be a Bhakta Vatsala. This theme of Bhakta Vatsala is a very powerful thing. Very, very strong. Actually, if we get this, even a glimpse, a percentage of it, 1%, then we will develop a surrender to Lord. How much he is eager. One example of this, let's take from Bhagavatam, where this great pastime of Gajendra which happened. Actually, if how many of you have read this Gajendra pastime? You've read you've read, you've heard. Okay. My just humble request, if you read this pastime in the Bhagavatam 8th canto, actually one can see how compassionate the Lord is, how much. It's just one pastime. Unfortunately, what is happening is our position is like Gajendra, okay, and we are in the jaws of crocodile. But unlike Gajendra, who was aware, who was trying to rescue himself, was trying to protect himself, we don't even bother, we don't even know that we are in the jaws of crocodile. So when I was just doing this, if you magnify, the jaws of a crocodile, and if you look at that, there are so many teeth, but unfortunately the Tribhir Gunamaya Bhavir, the people who are there in this material world, this position is like that of Gajendra. They don't think that all the teeth are even painful. So imagine if you are having some naan or something, right? And it is it's a little hard, it's not very soft. So you are trying to tear it. Sometimes it happens, right? Some of the teeth is crushing it more, whereas some of the teeth are not, though it is still trying to hold that. Something like that, a person gets a feeling, not that first of all, they don't understand that they are under the jaws of crocodile. Secondly, even if they understand, they think that some of the teeth it's not after all that bad. Some teeth it is hurting here, some blood is coming out, it's okay. Here it is okay, so maybe let me adjust in this way. What is our position? Very interestingly, when Gajendra realizes his precarious position, there are 3 verses I will say, and then with that we'll conclude. First thing that he says, Yah kaschanesho valino antuko raga prachanda vega davidhavato vrisha bhitam prapannam paripati yadbhaya mrityu pradhavati aranam tamimahi Yat kaschanesho valino antuko ragat. Actually, what we don't realize, of course, in this verse, Gajendra is telling that we are all in the jaws of time. He's saying not jaws of time, we are actually being chased by a serpent like time. Yah kaschanesho valino antoko ragat. Prachanda vegat abhidhavato vrisham. Prachanda vega, it's coming swiftly, very fast. The pace at which the time chases us, we have no control. It's just how quickly time goes away from our life. We feel, बहुत time है अभी, क्या अभी तो 30-40 साल है, a lot of time. यह कश्चनेशो बलिनो अंतोको रगात प्रचंड वेगात अभिधावतो वृषा. It's a very fearful snake. It's a very scary looking serpent coming at a very fast speed. But bhitam prapannam paripati yad bhayan, and it is creating fear. Bhitam prapannam yad paripati yad bhayan. But with that great fear, when I am being chased, the moment I surrender to the Lord, bhitam prapannam paripati yad bhayan, mrityu pradhavati aranam tamimahi. Then immediately the Lord comes behind. And when the Lord comes behind the time or the snake, immediately the snake stops chasing us. It's a simple thing. Simple thing, if one learns to surrender to the Lord, becomes free from so much of danger. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him. If one who fears the serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection, for even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great, powerful, supreme authority, who is the actual center of everyone. When Gajendra tried everything possible in his, whatever is possible in his abilities, whatever he could do, and he still failed, he realized this truth. That's because he had some past life, this thing, he realized, oh my God, what am I trying to do? With whom I'm trying to fight? And of course, before that, there is this verse which comes, Namam ime gyataya aturam gajaha kutah karinyah prabhavanti mochitum. Kutah karinya prabhavanti mochitum. Actually, his wives, children, all of them were trying to protect. But one after another, they all left. Namam ime gyataya aturam gajaha kutah karinya prabhavanti mochitum. Few days back, we were hearing that beautiful prayer of Srila Prabhupada, which he has written in Vrindavan, that I am sitting in this banks of Yamuna, and I am now meditating where all my family members and relatives have gone. I am all by myself. Actually, what it means is, sometimes we feel maybe, these people are just telling, I have my family members, they are very supportive, they are there always with me, they will take care. But when we go through difficulties, miseries, challenges, personal diseases, nobody can take that pain. We are all by ourselves. Prabhupada says in one place that we have to drive our flight by ourselves. Nobody is going to take our karma. Nama ime gyantaya aturam gajaha. Aturam, they saw that, how miserable the condition of Gajendra, they all came to rescue. But one after another they left. Kutah karanya prabhavanti mochito. Grahena pasena vidhatu rabrato. Api aham chatam yami paramparayana. Grahena pasena vidhatu. He realized this is Vidhata, this is the Lord's plan. Grahena pasena vidhatu rabrato. Api aham chatam yami paramparayana. The other elephants who are my friends and relatives could not rescue me from this danger. What then to speak of my wives? They cannot do anything. It is by the will of providence that I have been attacked by this crocodile, and therefore I shall seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of great personalities. Vidhatu Rabrata Paramparayana, he is the shelter of even great shelter, who is always the shelter of everyone, even of great personalities. And finally, this verse of Gajendra summarizes the principle of surrender. Very beautiful. Why we should surrender to the Supreme Lord. Madrik prapanna pasupasa vimokshanaya muktaya bhuri karunaya namo layaya swamsena sarvatan bhrin manasi pratita pratyak drishe bhagavate brihate namaste. Beautiful verse, beautiful. If you go back just remembering this one verse, the meaning of this, I am sure at least in your heart, there will be some improvement in terms of your degree of surrender to the Supreme Lord. If you have not read this or if you have not heard this before. Madrik prapanna pasupasa vimokshanaya. For an animal to understand who the Supreme Lord is, very difficult. He doesn't know whether it is a he, whether it is a she, whether it is Indra, whether it is Chandra, whether it is Shiva, whether it is Brahma, who it is. So he is telling Madrik Prapanna Pasupasa Vimokshanaya. Oh Supreme Absolute Truth, please release me, Vimokshanaya. Please, remove me from this jaws. Please protect me. Please rescue me from this jaws of crocodile. Who is that personality? Who is that Supreme Absolute Truth? He is telling Muktaya. First thing he is telling is Muktaya. Muktaya is a very important word. Muktaya means who is free. Imagine you are bound in a tree. ऐसे बांध के रखा है, पूरा हाथ पैर सब बंधा हुआ है. ब्रह्मा, वो भी आपके बगल में है, पतिदेव, उनको भी बांधा हुआ है. And Brahma is telling, no, I will protect you. How will you protect? You are only bound. No, how will you protect me? Not just Brahma, our husband, wife, or anyone. Even the demigods are also bound. They are not free. Muktaya. The first thing that he is telling is Muktaya. But the first thing, this Muktaya is enough. If somebody is free, if he is free, then only he can release us. But is that the only thing? Bhuri Karunaya. Imagine the person is free, his hands are free, and he is going and he saw that you are bound. But he's a sadist. He actually feels that it's good, that kind of a feeling he comes. No, Bhuri Karunaya, the Lord is not just free, He is also filled with unlimited compassion. He wants us to come out of it. Muktaya Bhuri Karunaya, Namo Layaya. But second thing, first thing is that okay, He is free, He is supremely compassionate. Namo Layaya, what if He has got so many people to release? And he thinks, okay, I'll do first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then by the time I come, God knows how long it will take. Namola, immediately. Muktaya, Bhuri Karunaya, Namola. He's unlimitedly eager to release us. Muktaya, Bhuri Karunaya, Namolaya. Why? Swamsena Sarva Tanbhran Manasi Pratita. Because the Lord is situated in our heart as Paramatma. Swamsena Sarva Tanbhran, in every one of our heart, not just in your heart, not in his heart. In every one of our heart is there. Swamsena Sarva Tanbhran Manasi Pratita. Immediately when we desire, the Lord gets to know about it. Pratyak Drashe Bhagavate Brihate Namaste. The word Brihate is a very important word. It means infinitely. The Lord is infinitely powerful, infinitely compassionate, unlimitedly merciful. He wants us to come out of it. Since an animal such as me has surrendered unto you, who are supremely liberated, certainly you will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you incessantly try to deliver me. By your partial feature as Paramatma, you are situated in the hearts of all embodied beings. You are celebrated as direct transcendental knowledge, and you are unlimited. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of God. This is how Gajendra surrenders. To conclude our time, okay, this fellow you will not be able to guess. This is a French philosopher by name Voltaire. He says something very powerful. He says that everything will be fine one day is called hope. Everything will be fine one day is called hope. Everything, okay, will is not there. Everything is fine today is called illusion. It's a very powerful thing. He's saying everything will be fine one day is called hope. But everything is fine today is called illusion. We think always everything is fine. Everything is going fine in our lives. Though there are some challenges, everybody is okay, it's fine. It's illusion. So the three reasons why we don't surrender to the Supreme Lord, first thing is we are not aware, we are in the not laws, jaws of crocodile, there are some typos. We are not aware that we are in the jaws of crocodile, the first thing why we don't surrender. I saw one video, if you search in Google you will find, there is a snake which is trying to gulp a frog. So the frog is getting, it's a video, so the frog is getting sucked into the mouth of the snake. But the frog with his tongue, it is trying to take one insect, trying to put that insect. He's not worried that it is going in the mouth of the snake. Still it is trying to capture that insect which it can take. Something like that our situation is. Little happiness here and there, little this thing, and we just become completely oblivious that we are in the jaws of time, we are in the jaws of crocodile. Crocodile jaws को दिखता ही नहीं है life. We are not aware that we are in the jaws of crocodile. Second thing is, even though we realize sometimes that okay, this material world is dukhalaya masasvatam, it's not the right place, we should come out of it, that knowledge sometimes dawns, but we feel that how much Maya is going to try. Eventually Maya will get tired. कितना अभी 2-3 misery आया, ठीक है, corona आया, चला गया, now life is normal, we'll keep on doing, something happens, and then we forget that that Maya is not going to test us anymore. We become oblivious and we become complacent. And the third thing is we are falsely getting confident. Related to the second thing, but we are getting falsely confident. I have started doing chanting. I am coming to the temple. I am doing service these days. Not enough. Because the surrender is a very different thing. Initially, if you imagine, like we are going in a horse and we are completely oblivious that we have to use the rein to control the speed of the horse. We are just going, blindly indulging in sense gratification. When you understand about this philosophy of Krishna consciousness, you want to struggle, you want to try. You want to somehow I want to come for Mangalarti, I want to do this, Sadhana Bhakti, we are trying. But the third thing which comes is where somebody ultimately surrenders, understands that without Krishna this is not possible. I am a spirit soul, I am only his part. He only has to bless, he has to give me that strength to overcome this material ocean. Doesn't mean that we will become inactive. But the degree of surrender, like Draupadi raised her hand finally, saying that, oh Lord, you are only going to protect me. That surrender is required, which is beyond the falsely getting confident. Having confidence in our own abilities, having confidence that I'm doing some service, I've done something, I'm given money, I've come and done some service for so many days. So the Lord, you, in return, you give me your mercy. We can't demand it. It's not in the process of demanding. It comes by His own this thing, seeing our attitude, how we are doing the service. That is how the Lord manifests and bestows His mercy. So in conclusion, we spoke about the two parts of this brilliant thought by Prabhupada, how the scientists, in one way they are trying to control and they don't want to surrender, and what is the process of surrender, seeing the example of Gajendra. Any questions, any comments?
First of all, thank you for the wonderful class. So, while explaining the verse on that Maya is the own energy of Krishna, you said that when devotees try to surrender, then Krishna tests the obedience and sincerity of the devotee through his external energy Maya. So, there is a high possibility, Prabhu, that since we are in Maya for a very long time, there is a high possibility that we can fall apart. And we can